me tell you about a friend. It's Craig LeBlanc where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
Always putting my all into everything that we were doing, regardless if it was my event or not. Going to be present, be seen, but be working. I want to make sure that I am doing something and contributing to the event and making sure that they know that I am available to assist in any way possible.
Welcome to the Daily Parks and Rec Show, your dedicated source for exploring the vibrant world of parks and recreation. Today, we're thrilled to welcome Chris Miner, the Division Director for Gwinnett County Parks and Recreation. Chris's journey in Parks and Rec is a testament to dedication and a deep understanding of community needs. Having risen through the ranks within Gwinnett County, join us as we delve into the extensive and impactful work of Gwinnett County Parks and Recreation. From the foundational experiences of youth sports at places like Cemetery Field, which shaped Chris's own childhood, to managing recreation centers and aquatic facilities like the Francis Meadows Aquatic Center, Gwinnett County offers a comprehensive range of services. We'll explore how they meticulously design and maintain these spaces and programs to serve their community, ensuring everything from youth leagues to comprehensive recreational offerings enhance the lives of residents. Tune in as we highlight the strategic and operational excellence that keeps Gwinnett County's parks and recreation thriving and its community strong. This is the Daily Parks and Rec Show, honoring the professionals who keep our spaces running and our community strong. All right, we are live again with another great episode from the Daily Parks and Rec Show. This is our leadership series, and we have got a phenomenal leader in Parks and Rec that has had a meteoric rise through all his work ethic and just taken advantage of all the opportunities that Parks and Rec gives you. So to all the young professionals listening to our show regularly, I think Chris sets a phenomenal example of what can be accomplished if you just are willing to work hard and take advantage of everything that Parks and Rec could throw at you. So Chris, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Craig. Happy to be on the show. Thanks for thinking of me.
Yeah, fantastic. So we usually start off the show with, now we're starting off with this commercial that Chris made for us, kind of explains everything that's happening with now DPRS Media Company, formerly the Daily Parks and Rec Show. So we'll run that and then we'll dive right back into Chris's journey. So hold on one second. Let me run this. Welcome to DPRS Media Co., the first media company built for the people behind the Parks and Rec community. We don't just cover on Parks and Rec, we elevate it, we amplify it, we honor it. At the heart of everything we do is one mission: to serve the public servants, the professionals who design, maintain, and lead the parks that shape our communities. Under the Daily Parks and Rec Show, we produce 6 powerful platforms. Leadership in Parks and Rec, a spotlight on directors, superintendents, and visionaries shaping the future of public spaces. Facility maintenance, where the boots hit the ground, a deep dive into the systems, crews, and craftsmanship that keep our parks clean, safe, and beautiful. Young Professionals Network, shining a light on the next generation of Parks and Rec. Students, interns, and mentors sharing how we build a legacy together. Youth Sports Mastery, sponsored by National Academy of Athletics. This series is for coaches, parents, and rec leaders working to make youth sports fun, fair, and meaningful again. The Rec Room, hosted by the passionate leaders of Henry County Parks and Rec. This show brings frontline energy and real-life stories from the field. And the weekly Parks and Rec Post, our official newsletter delivering stories, insights, and community wins every week. We are DPRS Media Co., LLC, a media company with a mission to uplift the professionals who serve every community, every park, every day. All right, so that's who we are and what we do in a minute and 40 seconds. So Chris, let's go back kind of into your childhood, how you got introduced in the Parks and Rec early on, where that foundation was, and then we can get into your college days and early days as a young professional in Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, no problem. You'll have to forgive me if I just run straight through it, because once I start talking about it, the story just kind of starts flowing out. So
I love it. I love it.
As serving as the Parks and Rec director for Gwinnett County, my story is rooted in Gwinnett. So going all the way back to childhood, I was born in Mississippi, and no offense to the listeners in Mississippi, but it's a great place to be from. And so
Yeah.
they're probably
What part of Mississippi were you in?
I was in Natchez, Mississippi. So
Oh yeah, we just had their. I was actually aired this show from the conference that was held in Natchez this year.
Awesome.
Beautiful city.
It is a beautiful city. It is. I was just there at the end of May, and it is a place that is frozen in time, so to speak.
Yes, the great way to describe it. If you want to go back like 100 years and see how life was,
exactly.
They preserved it well.
It is very well preserved, and so my parents. It's a great tourist city, but if you were looking for a better career, then they had to leave Natchez, and we landed in Gwinnett County, Georgia. So I've been here since 1988, 89. And so I started playing football over at Cemetery Field in Norcross, which is a city about 30 minutes north of Atlanta, and fell in love with it. My family built their community around that small little football field. And so Parks and Rec became very important to me because we spent so many Saturdays, Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays over at Cemetery Field as a young man playing football for Gwinnett County. My dad was a coach. Mom was a team mom. Sister was a water girl. She didn't like being a cheerleader. And it made it easier if all the kids are in one spot. Yeah. And
just
so
the two of y'all? Just you and your sister, or y'all had other?
Just me and my sister. Yeah. And so we lived really close to the field. My middle school was right up the school from the field. So our whole community was based around youth league football, and eventually track and field, which was also run through the county. So
what did you do in track and field?
I was a 200 runner and a 4x4 runner and a 4x100 runner.
Oh, those sprints are tough.
They are tough. I was a long sprinter. Now, I'm not a very big guy in terms of height. And so I'm only like 5'5.5". So I had these little bitty legs running a heck of a curve on a 200. That was my specialty. My coaches referred to me as like a freight train. Like once
what was your best time?
So my best time in a 200 was a 22.8.
Ooh, that's moving.
Yeah, I was doing pretty good. And then my best time in a 400 was like a 53.5. So that was, it was okay. For Gwinnett County at the time, I was doing pretty good.
That's pretty respectable for a high schooler.
Yeah, that's how I felt. And so I graduated, and I ended up going to Clemson University in South Carolina. And I wanted to be a motorsport engineer. I'm big into drag racing at the time. I wanted to be John Force's crew chief. That's what I wanted.
No way.
And
drag racing.
There's a drag strip over in Commerce. My dad and I would go up there from time to time, put our earplugs in, and just hang out all day. So I love speed.
Oh my goodness!
Fast, love fast cars. So I wanted to work in motorsport, and I would go on one tour for college. Shout out to Sherry. She actually found you and recruited you, and her whole family is into drag racing. They were Ford people, but they was on that quarter-mile race track all the time. Yes. Well, John Force was a Ford guy. He ended up in his career, he was driving that Mustang towards the end of it. So
there you go. Yeah. Well, I'm sure she's happy to hear that.
And with that speed, I was in a white Mustang GT, going back and forth.
Oh man, you're speaking her language.
And so, but when I got to Clemson, I realized I had been a pretty good student, but I was no good in physics. And what's the one thing that's involved in making cars go fast? Physics.
Absolutely.
After failing for the second time, I was like, if I'm ever going to get out of here, I'm going to have to find a different path. And so I also remember during my tour that Clemson had a Parks and Recreation Tourism Management program. And so I'm sitting there thinking, am I going to go business? Am I going to do law? What am I going to do?
And this is sophomore year, like second year, you're starting to figure this out?
This is junior year. Technically,
Oh,
I've
wow.
been there. I've gone through 2 years. I've
You
gone
sound
through
like
2
me.
years with that struggle. And so junior year, I'm probably 20 years old at the time. I'm like, I don't know if I can stick on this path. Otherwise, I'm going to be Van Wilder on year 10 and have nothing to show for it. And so that's where I thought back to the things that were important to me. And I went right back to that field, that cemetery field, playing sports as a kid, and how much it meant for my family and me in terms of my development. So
now, let me ask you, did you stay engaged in Parks and Rec, or after high school, you just kind of pulled away and dove into college, or were you still somewhat active in the community?
So not really, because I was essentially, I moved to Clemson. So I was only home
I see.
probably once a month. And that was probably to do some laundry and get on back.
Thanks, Mom.
And that's the sad part, because I wish I had been more involved. But mindset was completely different. I wanted to be an engineer. I had told myself from the time I was in 5th grade that I was going to be an engineer. So when that didn't work out, I was really I had going through a lot of self-doubt about what am I supposed to do now? That's where I was like, I love Gwinnett. I love the time that I spent in Gwinnett. It's a great community, and I would love to be able to do Parks and Rec for my community. So after I changed my major, that was my main goal, was to be able to go back home to Gwinnett and offer Parks and Rec services. And so I didn't immediately start at Gwinnett. After I graduated, I ended up working in Gainesville, Georgia. It's the poultry capital of the world.
Well, what did that degree look like? So once you decided, all right, I'm going to Parks and Rec, did you spend another 2 years?
Yeah, I finished up in another 2.5 years. Grades drastically improved once I was able to kind of find my passion. And essentially, the way Clemson does it, the way it felt, my specialty was community recreation. But it felt like they were molding us to be able to do any form of Parks and Recreation. If you wanted to start a Parks and Rec business, whether you were running like a paddle company or leading tours, there was information on that. So you come out as a pretty well-rounded professional. You also had to do an internship, actually 2 internships.
Oh, wow.
So I did one at the YMCA over in Latonia. They had a horse camp, and I was the sports camp director. Learned how to belay some kids, which was extremely fun on the rock wall. And then my other internship was at a YMCA in Clemson, which was more like a small practicum, which was like 40 hours or so.
Is that still that degree is still running? Is still healthy over there at Clemson?
It's still healthy, and which is great to hear, because I know that our local University of Georgia, had kind of moved away from recreation as a major for a time, and some of those instructors ended up at Clemson. But Clemson's still going strong. We put out some of the best Parks and Recreation majors in the nation.
I need to get in touch with them and try to get them on our Friday show, because I want to connect with and give them an opportunity to come on that YPN platform and let the world know, hey, we still have a very strong Parks and Rec program if you want to pursue it.
I'd recommend Bob Brookover and Denise Anderson.
Let me type that down. Would you say Bob Brookover? And he's one of the professors over there?
He is, yep.
Okay, I'll reach out to him. And Bob, if you're listening, we're gonna hunt you down. And who was the other person?
Denise Anderson. She's the chair of the department now.
And they teach and are still involved with the day-to-day?
They're still there.
Anderson. Okay. All right. So then you came out of the internship. I imagine that's kind of your senior year. And so then now you've graduated, you've got this experience. What's next?
Yep. So I was graduating in 2008. Tough market to be finding a job at that time.
Wow, that is a rough time.
Very focused on where I wanted to be. Obviously, if I'm trying to get back to Gwinnett, I wanted to be somewhere in Georgia and Hall County borders Gwinnett.
Mm.
But Gainesville in particular, one of the reasons why I wanted to apply to Gainesville is because they were a CAPRA accredited agency, and there were not many in Georgia. There were only 12.
So you knew what that was back then.
Yes.
So you actually sought after somebody that was right at the top of their game as far as a department.
Exactly. And so that was the other thing that they were telling us at Clemson, like these certifications matter. Be on the lookout for agencies that are CAPRA accredited. That means they know what they're doing. Those are great. Those are going to be places where you can become a better professional. And also, they encouraged us to get our certification as a park and recreation professional while we were still in school. I did not do that at the time, but eventually I would go on to do it. So
when can you pursue that first level of So let's say you're just out of college, you're now full time. Can you start pursuing the earliest accredited?
Yes, you can. You can start pursuing your CPRP. If you graduated and are working full time in parks and recreation, by all means, go ahead and try to do it.
Fantastic.
Having that CPRP after your name is just another feather in your cap that makes you stand out in comparison to other applicants. And
you started to pursue that pretty much immediately, right when you got out?
No. So after I graduated, I started dating my wife, and we got married, had some kids. And so I didn't pursue it until I believe That's was a different
type of accreditation there.
It makes you grow up extremely fast. It was about 3 years later, 2011 to 2012, somewhere around there.
So you received your wife accreditation and your father accreditation early on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I worked for a great director at Gainesville, a guy named Melvin Cooper. He's a legend here in Georgia, and he just poured a lot into me, taught me what it meant to be a good supervisor. Even after I left Gainesville in 2013, he would email me every year on my birthday, kept in touch, kept following my career. When I would see him at the Georgia Recreation and Park Association meetings, he'd always come up, say hello. We were still in the same district, so we were able to stay close. And so he was a great mentor and leader.
And what was he? He was your director, your first director?
He was my director. But the other guy that had an impact on me at that agency was a guy named Michael Graham. He was the strategist. He had the long-term vision of what Gainesville Parks and Rec needed to be. So he taught me how to be tough, but also how to think of the long term. It's very easy in Parks and Rec to get caught up in the day-to-day. You're working 2 weeks at a time from one board meeting to the next. And so being able to take a break and pivot to the long term is super important. Otherwise, you'll be working, but you may not necessarily be accomplishing anything. You just kind of maintaining. You may not be actually getting better.
So I remember in business land, we would call this, make sure you spend time to work on your business, not just in your business.
Exactly.
If you're not careful, you'll just be in Parks and Rec, but personally, you're not really becoming in any more adding accreditations. You're just kind of working in the system.
Right. Just maintaining the status quo, which may be good, but it may not be. Your community may be changing, and you may not even recognize it because you're just program to program. This is the way we've always done it, and not changing.
And how long did it take you to make that? Did you notice that pretty much from day one, or they kind of guided you that way?
No, and so when you come out of college, you think you know everything, and so I am not immune to that.
Me too.
So I thought Michael was a tough boss and was really hard on people. And at first I did not understand why. He had some strong standards because he had a vision of what Gainesville should look like. And these are the behaviors that he needed to see and the actions that we needed to take in order to get us there. So once I understood that approach, which was probably year 3 of me working at Gainesville, everything kind of clicked because we had just opened a brand new aquatic center and allowed me to essentially establish a fitness center within that facility at Francis Meadows. Putting that kind of project on a young professional to say, I want you to write this business plan, and
Oh,
since
wow.
you come up with the costs, come up with the equipment, you go tour the equipment, find our provider, and then bring it back to me. It
Wow.
was a pretty big project. And the only
You're
sad,
like 24, 25, and you have this kind of laid on as a responsibility. Wow. That's a
right,
great opportunity, you know,
it
to have
was.
that. Yeah.
It was. I'm extremely grateful, but because they poured so much into me. But the
Mhm.
biggest lesson from Gainesville was you never know who you're going to meet at your job and what role they're going to play in your life. Because my first
Mhm.
manager was a lady named Joan Taylor, who was also an amazing supervisor. Just the nicest lady, firm, but also nice. Almost so nice, or after you got to talking to, you're like, did I just get chastised, or were we just cutting up? So,
You seem to have a track record of getting these very firm drivers on your team.
it's super important when you have a manager, and they weren't micromanagers. So I want to be clear about that, especially
Yes.
Joan was not a micromanager. But
Yeah.
when there is a clear vision, it makes it a lot easier to accomplish a task.
Yeah.
But Joan, I was fortunate enough to work with Joan, and even after she left Gainesville, we stayed in contact because she knew that ultimately I wanted to get to Gwinnett. I still lived in Gwinnett. I moved back to Gwinnett after I graduated, and I was passing by all of the Gwinnett parks and recreation centers, and all that stuff, and aquatic centers on my way to Gainesville. So she knew where I wanted to get. And so in 2013, I was able to interview for a recreation program supervisor position with Gwinnett County. And the panel included none other than Elizabeth Bradley, who was Joan's partner. And
Ah,
I had met Elizabeth through my time working at Gainesville. I knew the family. I knew their son. We had spent a lot of time together. But she also knew my work ethic. And so she knew the type of professional that she was going to be getting because I had proven myself in Gainesville. So even though I was coming from a smaller agency to a much larger agency, she knew that Joan could vouch for how my work, and there was no concern about me coming over to a much bigger agency.
Can we pause for a second and you explain what, because I know a lot of who you are came from, or you came from your work ethic, and maybe you can explain of maybe who you were, or maybe what other people you see that maybe don't have a strong work ethic, and really try to define of how do you define work ethic and how did that serve you?
Yeah. So you have to be willing to. First off, my dad is a pastor and an entrepreneur. He runs.
Oh, wow.
He's in church every Sunday.
Mhm.
It comes whether you want it to or not, and you better be ready to be in the pulpit.
Yeah.
So he does that, but he's also a small contractor. So he is working all the time, and so he showed me what work looks like and what it means to work. But Parks and Rec was a little different. I had to be willing to do things that I may not have been comfortable with, or I may not have had the knowledge to do. I'm like, am I the person for this?
Mhm.
Leading princess camp. I didn't know anything about being a princess at the time or holding rooms, but being willing to do that whenever different department or different agency needed assistance, I was ready and willing. I was in programming, and athletics would call on me to help run Pee-wee sports, help herding the 4 and 5 year olds with playing soccer. I've never played soccer before, but I didn't mind getting out there when there was even after hours. I didn't mind hanging out, making sure that everything was set up, make sure everything got cleaned up. Always putting my all into everything that we were doing, regardless if it was my event or not, and being willing to be present, be seen, but be working. I don't want to be seen not doing anything. If I'm there, I want to make sure that I am doing something and contributing to the event, and making sure that they know that I am available to assist in any way possible. And that comes from my dad, comes from my mom. My mom was also a business owner. She ran an in-home daycare, which helped me learn how to work with small kids. And so it's all those things kind of come together to make me who I am today. But I was always willing to do anything and everything, which comes with the territory in Parks and Rec. If you're not willing to work the nights, if you're not willing to sacrifice your Saturdays and some Sundays
and holidays for special events,
holidays, then it may not be the industry for you, because it comes with the territory. We do an event every Thanksgiving called Lighting of the Tree. So we know, hey, we'll do our Thanksgiving early, but come 12, I got to head to downtown Lawrenceville because we got to get ready for the lighting of the tree. And so it also helps if your family is supportive and they also understand, because they're marrying into Parks and Rec, and this comes with the territory that dad's going to have to miss some things because the job is going to be calling. But it's important.
To those college kids listening to this, or young professionals, it really is a feature, not a bug, that you're going to be made uncomfortable, because almost everything, your whole career in Parks and Rec, you're going to be doing stuff you've never done before. But that is where personal growth happens. When you're in uncomfortable situations, you have to learn something new.
Exactly.
And even though you're uncomfortable, you exit with a skill set you didn't have before. Wash, rinse, and repeat. I know people of 40 years in Parks and Rec, and they've been learning stuff they've never done before the whole time. So.
Exactly. So I'll pick up from, I know I've been talking a lot, Craig, just going 90 miles a minute.
Yeah, no. So back to when so you've been given that big, what was that big opportunity you were first given to build it from ground up? And then I think that's where we kind of left off.
Yeah, so that was at Francis Meadows Aquatic Center and Fitness Center. If you're ever in Gainesville, stop by. But I was able to kind of help with that design, pick out the equipment, and then I got my job at my job in Gwinnett right before it opened. But again, that was due to the relationship that I had with Joan and ultimately Elizabeth and their family. So. Once I became the supervisor at Rhodes Jordan Park, it was a dream come true, because now I'm back in Gwinnett. I'm back home. My commute went from an hour to 10 minutes. Nice. It was amazing. And it was immediately, it felt like this was the place I'm supposed to be. I'm back in my community. Well, Elizabeth leaves a year later. She was my program coordinator, so she was the manager over 6 recreation centers. She leaves the next year. On my interview panel for that job was the division director at the time, Ms. Tina Fleming. During that interview, she asked, well, where do you see yourself in Parks and Rec in the future? I told her one day I'd like to be the division director of Parks and Recreation, the job she's currently holding. Which was super arrogant when I look back on it, but she never forgot it. And she would remind me, you said you were going to do this one day, and lo and behold, here you are. And so when Elizabeth moved north and her job was available, I put in for it. Granted, I had only been at Gwinnett for a year. I'm still only 6 years in the recreation at the time. There are other people that have been at Gwinnett 15, 20 years, but they were scared to put in for it. And my thought process was, well, I don't know how often this job is going to come available. And so if I don't put in now, there's no telling when the next opportunity is going to come around. So whether I'm ready or not, I'm going to go for it. And I did.
That's so important to just, when the opportunity comes, take it and deal with the consequences versus just sitting on the sideline forever.
Exactly. You got to get in the game. And so that's what I wanted to do. And again, I'm still following the same practices that I picked up in Gainesville and all my other previous careers or previous jobs from Clemson on through. I'm still working hard. I'm showing up for events. I'm supporting events at other recreation centers, supporting the department-wide events. And so, again, Tina has seen my work ethic, even though at this point I'm several layers below her. So
Mhm.
it's time to make that decision. They are comfortable putting me in that role, even though I'm still fairly young at the time and fairly new to Gwinnett.
Mhm.
But that was the best job I ever had. I'm not gonna lie. I
Yeah.
got to work with some really wonderful recreation professionals. At that level, you're 1 foot in the executive, and then 1 foot into the programming, and so you
Yeah.
get the best of both worlds. So I
Yeah.
did that. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, maybe you can speak a little bit how important it is to be willing to do the work, as maybe more important than you having the experience, because so much of Parks and Rec is every day. I mean, you can attest to this. How many times a week do you see stuff you've never seen before, and you got to go figure it out anyway?
Exactly. It's,
Yeah.
that is super important. Be willing to learn, be willing to do any task that's put before you, and always
Mm.
put a shot first. I'll never forget before Elizabeth left, one of the things she said to me was, one of the things I like about you, Chris, is that even though you're coming from Gainesville into a brand new system, you always try to figure it out first.
Yeah.
But you just bring a problem to me. And so being willing to try to work through a problem, because Parks and Rec is different almost every single day.
Mm.
Being able to be uncomfortable and being willing to take those risks and being helpful helps you stand out. If people can see that you're willing to put in the work, even if you don't have the experience, it'll help you stand out among other applicants, especially in internal opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And so how long did you stay at that position? So now that you got this, you got your boss's job, 6 years
Yeah.
in.
So it took me 8 years to get my boss's job. So
Uh,
I did 9 years to get my boss's job. So I was coordinator for 4 years, and then I got promoted to the deputy director of recreation, and I did that for 4 years. Another
mm,
great job, and then I became the division director in 2021.
mm,
And so at that point, I got Tina's job. Tina had been promoted to department director for community services. Gwinnett Parks and Recreation was housed under Department of Community Services.
mm,
To a lot of parks and recreation agencies out there. But in 2024, no, 2025, this year, Tina retired. She
mm.
retired on January 8th, and the county administrator saw that this would be the perfect opportunity to split Parks and Recreation out from Community Services and make it its own department. And so on January 7th, 2025, I became the first department director for Gwinnett Parks and Recreation.
Oh man, so you're building out the new position.
Yeah, yeah.
Another guy.
Right. And so it's I'd be lying if I say I haven't been blessed, Craig, because I
Yeah.
have been. I've been fortunate to meet some great people and to have people see something in me that they thought was worthy of being put in leadership positions. But it
Mm,
comes with the work. You have to be willing. You have to continue to improve yourself. I got my CPRP. I'm going for a master's now. And I've done all of the leadership and training classes that they can throw at me.
mhm,
I know that I may not have all of the experience that some of the other departments directors may have, and so I have to
mhm.
continue to work to make sure that we are headed in the right direction.
Yeah.
It's something that I think about all the time. It's like, what else can I do to improve to make sure that my team, my department is getting everything they need from me to make sure I'm being the best leader that I can be for them.
I love it. All right, so we'll take a short break to run a little commercial we made for our Young Professionals Network Friday show. That's every Friday, 12 noon Eastern. We have a show dedicated to this the young professionals. And when I say young professionals, there's actually some internship programs for high school kids.
Oh, okay.
Then there's some internships required by universities, so for the college kids, but also there's professors. That's a show for them. And if you have a strong internship program in your department, please find me. We want to highlight what you're doing because you're more rare than you think. So we're always looking for strong internship programs to highlight. And then of course the young professionals, meaning you're in the first 1 to 5 years of being in Parks and Recreation. This Friday show's for you. So we'll play this and we'll come right back, finish up with Chris.
The future of parks and recreation is here, and it starts with you. Welcome back to the Daily Parks and Recreation Show, where we bring you the latest insights, trends, and conversations shaping the world of parks and recreation. Today, we're diving into something that's shaping the future of our industry, Young Professional Networks, or YPN. If you love your job and love the parks and recreation community and are looking to connect with the next generation of leaders, this episode is for you. YPN is where driven, passionate professionals come together to connect, grow, and make a real impact. It's not just about networking, it's about building the future of our communities. Why join YPN? Career growth and mentorship. Learn from the best in the industry. Innovative ideas and collaboration. Be part of the next big movement. Leadership development. Take charge, make decisions, and create change. Whether you're just starting out or looking to take your career to the next level, YPN is your gateway to success. From exclusive networking opportunities to cutting-edge industry insights, this is where you build your legacy. Because the future of parks and recreation starts with you.
All right. So now you actually have a new job that you're building for the city. Maybe tell us what that day-to-day looks like and how, starting a new position for the city. What was it? And you've been in it for really since January.
Yeah, so, just over 6 months now.
Right.
Yeah. Craig, it's when you see someone do a job and they're doing it well, it's hard to tell everything that's into it. So the way Parks and Rec had been set up is there was operations, which is what I was over, so the day-to-day, and then there were projects, which was a separate division, and we both reported up to Tina and community services. So splitting Parks and Rec out and then being the boss over both aspects has been a challenge. I was not a planner or a construction manager or project manager by trade. I knew Parks and Rec from aquatics to athletics and a little bit of grounds maintenance. So having those projects put on my plate has been the biggest learning curve. Because when you hear about them on a day-to-day basis or a weekly basis during our update meetings, but you don't see everything that's going into it, from preparing the agenda requests, making sure the budget gets moved, signing off on recommendation letters, making sure notice to proceeds and things like that nature are all in place. So that's been the biggest hurdle. And also, it takes up a lot more. You spend a lot more of your time in higher level meetings, and so now that I'm required to be at the BOC meetings essentially all day, you essentially lose a day of the week. So you have to make up that time someplace else. And once a month, there are about you lose about 5 days out of the month. Because you're in BOC meetings, you're in an agenda review meeting, or you're in a department director meeting. And but the work doesn't stop. You're getting essentially twice as many emails. And so it's important to make sure that your system is in place so you don't miss anything. We use a lot of acronyms in Gwinnett, like a HRAN, HR, Human Resources Action Needed. That way, flags to say, hey, please don't miss this. Otherwise, we may not be able to hire or terminate someone. Same thing with evaluations and purchasing, things of that nature.
And shout out to Daniel Schaefer. He helped me. He's in Texas, and we did a whole show on our facilities maintenance show just on project management. And man, that is a beast that most Parks and Rec people don't see as a major burden that's coming at them.
Yeah, it is. And so we're lucky because Gwinnett Parks and Recreation is only about 40 years old. So we're a fairly young department, even when we were a division, we were still pretty young. So a lot of our facilities are not very old. But now those asset management issues are coming up, and trying to make sure that all of the facilities and programs are the same or equitable in the south side as they are to the north side and west to east is probably the biggest challenge, because people are not afraid to approach their Parks and Rec director and say, I'm not getting what I want, especially if it is pickleball or a soccer field. So trying to manage all of that and making sure that the citizens of Gwinnett are getting what they need while also being a responsible steward of their dollars has been the biggest challenge. For reference, Gwinnett, there are about 1 million people, just over 1 million people in Gwinnett. Our budget is $67 million for operating. We also have a SPLOS. We're in a 6-year SPLOS cycle, and our portion of that will be $98 million, and that will go towards major capital and major asset renovations, improving our trail network, and land acquisition. So a lot of dollars to kind of keep track of, but when there are 1 million people, 51 parks, 10,000 acres, that money starts to look a lot smaller when you're trying to prioritize who gets what and when it happens. Trying to balance all of that has probably been the biggest challenge, and trying to get up to speed quickly.
And you got a
6 months.
team too. Did I write this down? 200 full-time, roughly 750 part-time.
That's correct. Yeah.
Pretty large team.
We do have a fairly large team. 211 full-time members exactly. And I think we have 400 and some odd part-time, and then the rest is part-time seasonal. So our guards, our summer camps, our meal compliance leaders. So we grow close to just under 1,000 during the summertime. So right now we are as large as we will be. Then we'll shrink down come August, and then do it all over again starting in April.
That's crazy. When I hear you talk, Chris, it sounds like you're managing just a little 20,000 person city with about 20 employees. I'd never know, just off of reading your calmness and your demeanor, that you're running this massive park system.
So it's huge. I try not to get too caught up in the numbers. Thinking that there are over 1 million separate customers that have individual needs, and trying to meet needs, it can get overwhelming if I let myself sit there and think about it too long. But I do have an excellent team. I've got two deputies, one that's over projects and another that's over recreation operations, so everything from grounds maintenance to aquatics. So they really help, and then there's just layers and layers to try
more layers
and more layers to make sure that the work is getting done. And we've got people like Gwinnett. We're CAPR accredited. We've been gold medal nominated. We haven't won since 2008, so that's a goal of mine. So we've got a pretty good reputation, which means we attract some pretty good people, and so people want to come work here. So that makes it a little easier when we've got good people in the right positions, that are passionate about serving the people of Gwinnett. Because honestly, that's what matters to me when I'm looking for promotions and looking for people to bring in. If you don't have the passion, then there's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do for you. I can teach you everything else, right? I can teach you passion. And so if you've got that, then you're a standout applicant in the book.
You haven't said it yet, but I can just tell by the way that you must lead from a position of empowering your team, trusting your team, being a good delegator. Maybe you can speak a little bit, because there's no way you can run this size department by yourself.
No, I can't, and I tried. And
it doesn't work.
It was not great because there are too many plates in the air. And so if you're trying to do it all yourself, especially as your agency or department grows bigger, it's impossible. There's no way I could cut all the ball fields or make sure that all of the permits have been signed and all the insurance is collected. I have to trust that the team that I put in place is doing what they're supposed to, which was kind of a change for us. There had been a culture in Gwinnett kind of as a whole of kind of micromanaging. Nothing gets out the door without the director seeing it. But some of the items are not necessarily, they don't necessarily require my attention. If we're talking a small purchase from Staples, I don't need to approve, you buying $1.50 worth of pens. That's
Right.
not necessary. And so figuring out where that level of authority lies was one of the key things to making sure that I'm not getting overloaded and people are still able to get what they need without having a bottleneck at any level of the organization. But delegation is super important. But the thing about delegation, you got to follow up. And so that's been the next step. It's like, okay, I've given this task. What's my method to make sure that it's getting done? And so that's been have a morning meeting with my deputies. It's usually 5 minutes. We don't even sit down. We don't want to sit down because it'll turn into a 45-minute meeting. So we keep 5 minutes, cover what's going over today. We have a weekly, which I'll be doing shortly after this. We'll kind of cover the next 2 weeks. And then there's a monthly to where we cover essentially the next 3 months.
Now, where'd you get that system? So you do kind of like a daily huddle and then a weekly recap kind of thing, and then a monthly planning. Where'd you get that from?
Honestly, a book called Death by Meeting.
Yeah, I was about to say that sounds like it.
Yeah, and that really changed my entire approach to meeting, to making sure that I'm going in with an intent, that there is a purpose behind the meeting, so I'm not wasting anybody's time. So I make sure to know what I'm looking for ahead of time. Make sure that the agenda gets out so everyone can come prepared, especially for that monthly meeting. But yes, it allows to hit the highlights, dive a little deeper, and dive even deeper at that monthly. So it's been working, and I picked that up in one of the training programs that Gwinnett put me through, it's called an Internal Management Academy, and it's done through UGA. And it's made me a better leader. It's made me more efficient with my meetings. It's made me more efficient with my time. That way, people still have the access. I still feel like I know what's going on, and they always feel like they can come to me. And if they don't just walk in or send me an email, but we have those times where we can definitely hit what's going on in an organization.
Yeah. Now I wanted to talk a little bit about this summer meal program, because I know that you're really passionate about that as just one of the great examples of stuff you can do in Parks and Recreation that doesn't really seem like Parks and Rec, but I mean, this is such a great deal that you've got going. Maybe give us a little rundown of what that is and how it came about.
Sure. Summer meals is close to my heart. Grew up on a kid on free and reduced lunch before my parents got things super together and we were able to move out to a different part of the county. So I know what those meals mean to kids. And so when COVID came around, we had started summer meals in 2019. We did 16,000 meals in a county of 1 million people. 20 rolls around. Obviously, we're dealing with COVID. The way that Parks and Rec responds is by increasing our summer meal program. So we go from 16,000 to 388,000 meals served that summer. So a gigantic increase. So we recognized then that, we thought we were making an impact, but we were only scratching the surface. So we continue that in 21 and 22 and 23. And at that time, we were using the USDA programs because they had waivers in place that allowed for drive-up service, parent pickup, and we could serve at pavilions because we don't necessarily have recreation centers where people can come and sit down at every part of the county. In 2025, we brought that program completely in-house because we could have gone back to a USDA program in some portions of the county to where we could have done a congregate feeding, but we saw the impact that our drive up program was having and how accessible it was to people. They can grab it and go. They don't have to sit there while the parent is there watching the child eat. There's no awkwardness about it. You come, you get a meal, and you take off. And we're able to do it at parks that may just only have a pavilion or a place with the recreation center. And we're also able to serve our camp kids. So, I mean, it's costing us some funds. If we're dedicating $450,000 or so, it happened. But it was that important to the county commission that we keep this program going in this state to make sure that the residents of Gwinnett are getting what they need.
Yeah. And so but majority of that's got to go just the cost of the food, I would imagine.
That is food.
Yeah.
Majority of that is food. And so there is some staffing costs that was already built into the budgets, which is why I included it, because essentially we're redirecting those folks to take a little time out of their day to hand out meals as opposed to, taking admissions for that time.
Yeah. And how old is this program now?
So technically we've been doing it since 2019, but in fashion where it's truly recreation funded, about 2 weeks old.
Oh, wow.
So we just kept our same processes.
Right.
It was funded by ARPA, but once those dollars ended and we spent those funds in 2024. So once 2025 came around, we're like, well, we're still going to do it. This method works for us. And so we'll just put the funds towards it to make sure that it continues at the level that we want to see it.
Now, part of this you're already doing for your summer camp kid, right?
Correct.
So this is just on top of that, you can drive through and pick up even if you're not part of the summer.
Exactly. Because we had tried a combination type setup where we had a USDA program and our summer program. But what we saw is that we'd have to clear out the camp, open back up for the public, and it was clunky. So this method works best for us. We're able to take those meals where they need to get to. People can walk up, people can drive up, and it works like a charm. We're professionals now, so we can get those meals distributed in less than 4 hours. And like from the time they arrive on the truck to get out to a park site, takes about 4 hours. And so we've got it locked in, Craig. We feel like we're pretty good at summer meals now.
What's the numbers? It's like how many meals are y'all handing out a year now?
So right now we're pacing a little ahead of 2024. So right now we're on track to hand out about 230,000, which is, kind of trending. And I would prefer to be handing out less than 200. But last year we did 227. Right now we're on pace to hand out about 230,000.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. That's great for that community. And so what does the community think about this? Any feedback from them as far as I guess they're got to be loving it.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of positive feedback in terms of people are super excited that the program is continuing in this fashion. Our camp parents love it because that's one less meal that they have to pack. And that's one extra thing that makes the camp special. So we've gotten a lot of great feedback. Now there are opponents. Other people like, well, you could have done this through a USDA program. Those county funds could be used towards something else. But again, it was important to the commission. It's important to Parks and Rec. It's a way that we can serve our community that in a way that doesn't involve stick and ball or games or programs or crafts, and allows us to connect to our community in a different way. So important to us. So we'll take the criticism and keep it going as long as we can.
Well, if you have any video of that, so after we record this, it'll go into post-production, and our video editor, Chris or Kathleen, whichever one works on this show, if you have anything you'd like to include, and we make like a little 1-minute promo for the work y'all are doing, this might be a good side of it. I don't know if y'all ever capture it, and then maybe you can use this to continue to defend your position to the council.
Yeah, definitely.
Doing some great work. Because I don't. Do you find that a lot of other counties do similar work? Or are y'all kind of rare in this way, or?
We are rare in the terms of the fact that we brought it in-house. Now, a lot of my counterparts, if you go to the east, they get more rural. So they have an exemption from USDA to continue like drive-through pickup. But because we are a metro county, then we don't. And to the south, a lot of those areas are completely qualified because the schools are at over 50% free and reduced lunch. Only about half of, or about 3/4 of Gwinnett qualifies in that fashion. You know, less than 50% doesn't mean zero. And so in order for us to serve everyone, we had to take this approach. 30% still a lot of kids that are on free and reduced lunch. So we wanted to make sure that we could hit everyone that needs a meal, regardless of what part of the county they were in.
Yeah. Now I'm curious, coming from New Orleans, Louisiana, I know in Georgia, the same thing. We take our food seriously. What kind of meals are y'all preparing for them? Who's doing the cooking? Is this grandma?
No, it's not grandma. We've got a great partner in JA Foods. It's a meal it's a shelf stable style meal. So it comes to go. The kids can grab it. It still meets the requirements from the USDA in terms of the protein and the vegetables and the juice and all that stuff. It's the same requirements except the milk. So no, unfortunately, it's not grandma's home cooking. If we win any medals for taste or anything like that,
right?
But you know, it's one less meal you have to buy, and it's things that kids will eat. I want to say there's like soy butter sandwiches and things of that nature.
Yeah. All right. So I'd like you to kind of pitch. Let's say you're standing in front of a group of college kids, yet undecided of what they want to do with their life. What's your kind of elevator pitch testimony to the industry, to them, kind of encourage them to take a second look at this industry?
Sure. So Parks and Recreation, to me, it starts with passion. And if you have a passion for your community, if you love serving people, Parks and Rec is a great place to do it. You don't have to go into healthcare to serve people. You can serve everyone regardless of their needs. You serve everyone regardless of their age. If you want to work with seniors, you can do that. If you want to work with young, like children, you can do that through summer camps, through camps and classes and events. If you want to be an event programmer, you can do that. If you want to be essentially a wedding coordinator, you can also do that in Parks and Recreation. If you want to be completely by yourself on a lawnmower, not talking to anyone, you can do that. Now, people will still talk to you, but my point is there's a lane for everyone in Parks and Recreation, regardless of your passion. If you are a history major, we oversee things like historic sites that need interpretation. There is a lane for literally anyone in Parks and Recreation. Now, the money may come slow. You can probably make a lot more money doing something else, but if you continue to work at it, continue to take chances on yourself, bet on yourself, and take opportunities as they come, then you can make a pretty decent living in Parks and Recreation. My family, we're not rich by any means, but we're not hurting. And so if you continue to pour in yourself, allow your passion to shine, and don't be afraid to take any chances, you can make a great career in Parks and Recreation.
Yeah. Oh, I love that testimony. And it's true that though you might not your starting point might be a little less than maybe in the private industry, but man, as far as having the opportunity to increase your skill set 24/7, I mean, you get opportunity to grow as a leader in Parks and Rec. It's almost second to none.
Exactly.
And that's going to affect your payroll because you're just more and more qualified. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we have a little tradition here on the Daily Parks and Rec Show. For the previous guest, Chad Dyson, he is the Park and Rec Director of Davenport, Iowa. He left you a question, two questions actually, and then you get to leave a question for the next guest. So let's see, one's kind of silly and the other one's serious. I'll give them both to you, and you figure out which one you want to answer first. So the first one is, if you had a superpower, what would it be, and how would you use it in your job? And the other one is, what are the biggest budgetary challenges you are facing, and what are you doing about it?
Superpower. I would be the ability to multiply.
Yeah.
Just create different versions of myself to allow to be able to tackle the different tasks.
Yep.
Maybe one of those could go on vacation from time to time. That would be nice. Or flight. If I could get teleportation. If I could
Teleportation
from park to park without having to drive over 437 square miles, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
For budgetary constraints, one of the things that we are, I'm not gonna lie, Gwinnett is in a wonderful position. We've got a dedicated recreation tax, plus the special purpose local option sales tax. We're not necessarily hurting for money. But one of the things that has us a little concerned are some of the sentiments coming out of Washington in terms of grant funding. And
yes.
So kind of keeping an eye on CDBG projects, because it was like, well, we thought we may be able to do this as a CDBG project. If that goes away, do we have enough in reserve, or can we push something back that was scheduled in SPLOST or a capital improvement program to cover a cost that we anticipated being covered by a grant, but is not covered by a grant. So that's probably the biggest thing that we're looking at now. Obviously, everyone's still dealing with inflation, but for us, the biggest concern right now is have we anywhere in the county, in any department, done anything that violates any of these grant assurances that may get the federal government after us to say, Gwinnett, you're not receiving any grants anymore. And if that happens, how are we going to pivot to cover those expenses that were traditionally covered by grants?
Yep. So, and it seems like every department in America is kind of taking a second hard look at their financial sustainability, because, and whether it's caused by Washington or a market crash or a pandemic, there's always something that can affect your budget. So I guess it's always good to have these plans in place in case something like that happens.
Indeed.
Okay, so what question would you like to leave for our next victim?
I would like to ask them, what is the best experience they've ever had in Parks and Rec, and what is the worst? Bonus points if it is involving athletics or an animal.
Best and worst experience in Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Bonus. All right, so I'm sure there's a story behind that question on the animal side. What's the story? Bonus on animal.
It's not even a very long story.
Really?
But I was attacked by a snow goose as I was just trying to change trash cans out at a park called Triple Mill. I just wanted to put a billion signs and change the trash bags. And this snow goose just chases me all over the park, and it's honking and quacking. And it's probably up to my chest. And so this is a big bird. It would not leave me alone. And so I ended up running back to the car, let him cool off, and then snuck around the other side, grabbed the trash and took off. But yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
They're beautiful, but they're mean. So
it's like when you got nothing to lose, that bird's coming at you saying, I'm willing to die here, and you're questioning yourself.
Like, it's not worth it, man. Like, I can come back. I
love it, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate your passion and just your general testimony as what can be done if you really apply yourself. And I think you're just a great example of what a Parks and Rec professional can accomplish in his own life and for his community. So great job.
Thank you, Craig. I really enjoyed it. You got a great thing going here.
Yeah, well, we're going to keep it going, and love having you on the show, and keep doing what you're doing, man.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one.
Take care, Chris. Bye. All right. Another great episode. Chris is I remember when I was interviewing him before, I was like, God, this is who we want to highlight in this industry. So if you're a young professional, you see someone like Chris going for it. And notice he did not know what he was going to do in college. He was lost like the rest of us are in college. Shout out to everybody that doesn't know what they're doing when they're getting to college. Figured it out after a couple years being in, was able to pivot. And then importantly, he found a few good mentors. Shout out to Bob and Denise over there at Clemson for giving him that exposure to Parks and Rec, did a couple of good interns. And then you noticed he kept that mentorship component of his life going. Having great leaders underneath him that weren't just easy on him, but were, challenged him, put challenging things in the hands of a 24, 25-year-old, step back, let Chris form himself as a leader. And then also it's very important, shout out to his parents for giving him that work ethic as a young man, setting great examples so that Chris didn't back down from the challenges and just put his head down and worked hard. And then look how quickly he was able to rise through the ranks, and now is a director of one of the largest park systems, most likely in America. $67 million budget, 200 employees, 10,000 acres, million people population that he's serving. And he's doing it in my assessment with a lot of grace. I know a lot of park and rec director friends of mine that are doing good, but you can tell it's stressful, and he seems to be just carrying it very well. So great job, Chris. Great testimony to the industry. And I'm sure you can meet Chris if you ever go to GRPA. I'm sure he's a regular. I know he's a regular at NRPA as well. You can meet these people, and they'll be more than happy to share their story and even stay in contact with you as you maybe follow in his footsteps and maybe go on a similar journey. So yeah, great job. All right. So we have a lot of good stuff happening in the background. I wanted to let everyone know our Wednesday time slot, the 1:30 p.m. time slot, we're going to fill that up with 4 independent shows that are going to happen monthly. So right now, the Wednesday, second Wednesday of every month, 1:30 p.m. is held by the Rec Room, and that's Henry County, Georgia. We're producing 12 shows a year, one a month, every second Wednesday, 1:30 p.m. And we're in conversations with a couple others. Pretty much they've already said yes. One's going back and forth, probably going to say yes there too. And that's going to be one of our great state associations. Breck Park in Baton Rouge has already agreed that they'll take one of those. And then had a great conversation with David Howard over in Texas. He's right outside of San Antonio. We're going to put something together for him because he's just got such a great story and really passionate about this industry. So what we'll have is every Wednesday, 1:30, one of these 4, whether it's the first Wednesday, second Wednesday, third Wednesday, they each kind of take a different Wednesday of the month. We're going to have a regular show on that Wednesday, 1:30 time slot. And that way we're really helping those voices in Parks and Rec that want to produce content of their own flavor for Parks and Recreation, similar to how our current one, which is the Rec Room by Henry County, JP's whole team, they've got their whole leadership team on there. You really get to see how Parks and Rec works. So that's every second Wednesday of the month. So every Wednesday we'll have someone in that time slot, and that's going to be kind of a standalone brand, its own flavor, its own version of Parks and Recreation, where we can really just lift up these voices that want to be heard, have a good message, and then we're on the back end as DPRS Media Company helping just to produce that content and to just edit it and distribute it across all platforms, make it part of our YouTube content library. So that's kind of unfolding real time in front of us. We should actually have all that squared away, having all 4 shows going. I would most likely by the end of July. I think one we'll have going. I think July, we actually might have all 4 Wednesdays ready to go. So just want to kind of let people know about that. We also have Youth Sports Mastery by Aaron Locke. That is, they're just old hat at this now. I think they're on their 5th episode every Thursday, 1:30 p.m., all about youth sports with the host Aaron Locke, sponsored by his company, which is focused on youth sports and coaching. And he have his little franchise model where if you want to make coaching youth sports a way that you feed your family, he's got an unbelievable model. So reach out to Aaron Locks about that and his company. But he also does a great job hosting the Youth Sports Mastery Show every Thursday, bringing on some of the best coaches and some of the biggest authorities inside of youth sports nationwide. He is so well connected and has been doing youth sports for 40 years. So, I mean, I could not have been blessed with a better host to speak on the topic of youth sports. So thank you, Aaron, for doing that and bringing that to the forefront of Parks and Recreation, because youth sports is such a big chunk of the services provided by pretty much every Parks and Rec community. Friday, we have our young professionals. Last Friday, I just could not get an internet connection. I had a guest ready to go, and I was in the middle of nowhere trying to get phone service, and I had a Verizon phone, an AT&T phone, couldn't get either one of them to live stream. So unfortunately, we had to just postpone that show. So apologize for that. And then kind of the same thing on facilities maintenance. We had a lot of stuff had to, jockey and reschedule, but we're still pushing on all this content and loving doing it. And thank you for everybody that is helping us build this media company. There's a lot that goes into it as far as producing the shows, getting the right voices on there, organizing it all. And, shout out to Suzanne Diaz. She is now helping us with a lot of the sponsors that are wanting to take part in this and help us build this out for the Parks and Rec community. That's kind of her wheelhouse. So there's a lot of stuff going there. But I think one of my personal asks and big pushes, I got to mention the newsletter. So great second newsletter that's going to go out every Sunday, 5 a.m. Eastern. It'll be hitting your email. And we've actually got some good articles that were written by people in the industry, professionals in the industry, we're going to start highlighting. So if you have written an article and would like us to, we would love to, for Parks and Recreation, we would love to have you in our newsletter going out, because we want to give that as much airtime as possible. Just a lot of cool stories in Parks and Recreation that we want to give as much exposure. And so that's going to be going out every Sunday. Right now we're just giving it to a limited people, trying to get feedback as we kind of dial that newsletter in. We're still doing a lot of as far as the software that we're using to build that out and how we compile it and stuff. But I think once we get 3 or 4 weeks, we're going to be off to the races, and then we'll be able to send that out to anybody that wants the newsletter. And here, I'll show you all the logo here on that one. So this is our newsletter. It's called the Weekly Parks and Rec Post, and I made them make like an old-fashioned logo and stuff. So, and we may even we're wanting to put together like a little comic section, like the old-fashioned newspapers, and maybe we can make Chris's example of him being chased by the bird one of our first comic sections in the newsletter. But there's so many fun things you can do with an old-fashioned newsletter. I see it kind of and I even looked into printing it like an old-fashioned newspaper and delivering it, and having a sports section, which could be kind of youth sports, having an aquatic section, having leaders, and we can have a section just for the associations, and then maybe a political section. And when I say political, I mean like the efforts that goes into representing the Parks and Rec at the state houses, mainly after my exposure of attending the Louisiana Parks and Rec Association event that they had at the Louisiana State Capitol while they were in session, while the legislators were in session. I think that would be the type of politics we would want to highlight, not necessarily all the stuff that DC goes on with. Want to stay away from that chaos that's probably never going to end. But that's just, part of it. But I think there's a lot of stuff we can highlight as to the good work that's done at the state level with regards to Parks and Rec. So, so much stuff that can be done with that newsletter. So I'm really glad that we launched that. We just sent our second one out. So look out for number 3 coming out this Sunday at 5 a.m. And then, of course, Friday, we have our Young Professionals Network show every Friday, 12 noon. So lots of stuff happening at the Daily Parks and Rec show. Appreciate all the love and support. Chris, thank you so much for your testimony, your career, your example of what a great Parks and Rec professionals life can look like if you really apply yourself, work hard, open yourself to mentorship from college to early days, and even today. I'm sure Chris leans heavily on people around him. So a great leader, and I was glad to have him on the show. So, all right, guys, y'all have an awesome rest of your week. Love you guys, and we'll see y'all here tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.
Welcome to DPRS Media Co., the first media company built for the people behind the Parks and Rec community. We don't just cover on Parks and Rec, we elevate it, we amplify it, we honor it. At the heart of everything we do is one mission: to serve the public servants, the professionals who design, maintain, and lead the parks that shape our communities. Under the Daily Parks and Rec Show, we produce 6 powerful platforms. Leadership in Parks and Rec, a spotlight on directors, superintendents, and visionaries shaping the future of public spaces. Facility maintenance, where the boots hit the ground, a deep dive into the systems, crews, and craftsmanship that keep our parks clean, safe, and beautiful. Young Professionals Network, shining a light on the next generation of Parks and Rec. Students, interns, and mentors sharing how we build a legacy together. Youth Sports Mastery, sponsored by National Academy of Athletics. This series is for coaches, parents, and rec leaders working to make youth sports fun, fair, and meaningful again. The Rec Room, hosted by the passionate leaders of Henry County Parks and Rec. This show brings frontline energy and real-life stories from the field. And the weekly Parks and Rec Post, our official newsletter delivering stories, insights, and community wins every week. We are DPRS Media Co., LLC, a media company with a mission to uplift the professionals who serve every community, every park, every day.